Hey everybody, welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers. This is a podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. My name is Cal, and this is
Lou.
And today, we are here with a present from one of our dear and near clients and listeners, Ocean. Thank you so much. If you remember from an episode long ago. long ago. A couple episodes ago, I don't know. We had talked about this mysterious bubble gum that Lou was just going on about that I haven't had.
And it's called Double Bubble.
It's called Double Bubble. I thought Lou was talking about the tape. No, we're talking about these like weird pillow gum things. So we figured we would try it.
I've already had this. I grew up with this.
I would try it. This is my unboxing. Like the waxy paper. It's hard as a rock. It's still hard. And I'm afraid that my fillings are going to come out if I chew on this. It's getting softer, though. Oh, it's sugary, bitch.
Yeah, you wondered why it was 20 calories.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if that's like if you swallow it.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I forgot how much I love how hard it is.
I don't think I like it.
Of course you don't. Your fucking generation is built on soft-ass shit.
Yeah, I don't think I like it at all.
All right. Run us through the experience.
Okay. Well,
with it still in your mouth.
It was hella hard, and now it's like really getting softer.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much gum. It's too much gum. It's hella sugary. I can fucking feel it trying to seep into my teeth. I don't like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I did not enjoy the quantity. It's just a lot.
It's a lot. It's also, I think it's why my generation has got more, like, nicer jawlines.
Because of that shit?
Yeah, because it's a lot. I feel like we should do, like, 5 minutes. You have to have it in there for 5 minutes.
Hate that.
Because your jaw will be fucking jacked.
Afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious?
It hurts, yeah.
I didn't like why does it start out super fucking hard?
Because the 90s?
That's it.
Because the 90s were hard. We were all hard.
You know what? So I would really like to do this episode. Let us know in the comments if you would like to see this. But there's a bunch of treats that Lou and Caboose were talking about that I've never had. That was one of them. Apparently there's these like plastic barrel juice things that I've never had as well. I've never had a Dunkaroo. Is that what they're called? Dunkers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Never had one of those.
Basically, also give us a list, because I didn't get to eat junk food a bunch as a kid.
Yeah.
We were too poor for junk food.
Yeah, so give us a list of what we should try out, because I want to try those like barrel juice thingies.
See, because now you're missing the amount of like saliva that has to be produced. Mm-hmm.
Why are you producing saliva right now?
You kept it in your mouth for such a short period of time. You have to go on like a whole fucking 5-minute journey with it. Where then, because you didn't even chew it for long enough that then it becomes hard again.
I don't like that. I don't know what's happening in that area. Is it because all the sugar has been like seeped out of it?
I don't know.
Why does it get hard
I don't know
again?
the science behind it. I'm not some fucking double bubble master. If you're a double bubble master, tell me.
If you work for Double Bubble, if you are Mr. Double and Mrs. Bubble, please hit us up.
Halloween.
So ridiculous.
Okay, so anywho, what does your gender feel like?
Oh, my gender. My gender today feels like a mouse at a tea party.
Ooh, that's so cute.
What does your gender feel like?
Minus the roid rage. I feel like
roid rage?
Yes. But hold up. You need to calm down.
You're
about to bring some roid rage out in me. Minus the roid rage, I feel like the chick from... Fuck, what was that?
The Kristen Stewart movie?
Yes, the new Kristen Stewart movie.
Fuck, what is that called?
Love Wins or something? I don't know.
Love Lies Bleeding?
There you go.
There
Good
we
job.
go. Thank you so much. That was so fucking hard. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, that was an unhinged movie.
Y'all need to go watch it. And by watch it, I mean, it's okay. Anyways.
It's okay.
Today, we're going to talk about being straight in a queer relationship. And what does that mean? What does that even freaking mean, Lou? What does that even freaking mean?
What that means you as, okay, whatever, come for me, I'm gonna say it anyway. You as a queer person, which is like the like epitome of humanity, like the like highest evolutionary state of a human being
is being queer.
Obviously.
Period.
So you, as a higher evolutionary state of a human being, has decided to fall in love with a lowly mortal.
Whoa.
Which is a straight person.
Fall in love? Who's talking about love over
You're
here?
talking about being in relationships. Obviously, you don't need to be in any... You should love your friends. Mm-hmm. You should love anyone who you're in a relationship with. And I'm talking about me. I am a queer person who is married to a, unfortunately, very straight man.
Very straight man. Caboose is for being in the Navy, and we make dick jokes a lot, but he's incredibly straight. And that shit, like, it's so crazy.
The way that straight men love him, too, it's so funny.
They fangirl out.
Because he is very straight.
Yes, and they fucking are obsessed with him. And
he's got
crazy.
Power tools. He's a great lesbian.
He is a great lesbian. The Duke of Dykes, if you will.
Yes.
This one came up with that because
I've been calling him a fag hag. Because he only hangs out with queer people.
He collects lesbians like crazy. It's nuts.
So I called him a fag hag, and then it hit me that I was like, oh well, that's not a very nice name.
No.
So now he is the Duke of Dykes.
Duke of Dykes. But anyways, being straight in a queer relationship, what the hell does that even mean? I want to preface this with you can be queer in a heterosexual relationship. Let's not erase your queerness here.
Yeah.
I feel like that has been like a thing that my generation didn't really have to deal with, which is really nice. However, you definitely had to deal with the, if I'm going to get married to a man, I have to trade in all of my queerness. I'm officially straight. And that is,
that was what I thought as I walked down the aisle.
Oh.
Was that I was like, okay, so you're going to be straight now. You're choosing to be straight.
Yeah. And
then that part just got like shoved deep down where I was like, all right, you're just a straight person. Mm-hmm. Is this how straight people act?
Is this how straight
people have a haircut and dress? God. Yeah.
You specifically too, with your shaved pink hair.
When I got married, I had a full head of pink hair.
Wow.
Because once again, I was pretending to be straight.
I'm so sorry. Well, let's talk about it, right? You don't have to trade in your queerness if you're in a heterosexual relationship. And if you are a straight person who is dating a queer person, you also don't have to trade in your straightness. Your sexuality is yours to own.
However, there is a caveat to that.
There is a caveat that we want to talk about.
You're a straight person and you're now in a queer relationship.
What does that mean? That means you're dating a queer person. Mm-hmm. So if you are a straight woman dating a bisexual man, you're in a queer relationship. If you're a straight man dating a pansexual woman, queer relationship. Mm-hmm. If you are a straight
dating anyone who's non-straight,
a non-binary person, you're in a queer relationship. Like that is point blank. Period.
Yep.
You are in a queer relationship.
So sit with that for a second.
Yeah, I'll
Congratulations.
Give you
You're in a queer relationship.
Yeah.
We welcome you.
Welcome.
We have beautiful flags. We've got great merch.
We're hilarious.
We are super funny. We tend to be quite colorful. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the community. You're now an ally.
How are you supposed to be a good ally, though? How can you do this for your newfound queer relationship? Well, we're here to tell you. We're going to talk about it today because I love this idea. I like the idea of like introducing people into this world. I love educating people, and I feel like I don't want to approach this in the sense that like people need to feel ashamed about not knowing enough, because people don't learn from a place of shame. And I think the internet can be a really toxic place sometimes because it's 2024. You should know better. A lot of people aren't given the same resources, even though we all have the same internet. For a lot of the time, people have a lot of shit going on in their lives.
And you also might be getting the wrong information on the internet.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I had a client not too long ago because they asked like if I was non-binary, and I said, yes, I'm non-binary. And so they said, so you're trans. I was like, well, no, that's not the same as non-binary. Mm-hmm. And I explained it, and they just continued with, okay, but then that means you're trans. And then I had to explain to them what being trans was and the difference between trans and non-binary, and like where they had learned that they were the same thing. So it's not always the case. The caveat to that as well is it is not a queer person's job to educate you on everything. Please, rely on more than one person to get educated, because it's quite exhausting if you're the only queer person being asked these questions or like the only one that like they can ask questions to and you're answering all the same questions?
Absolutely. I want to back it up a little bit because it is Pride Month by the time this releases. Yes. Question mark. It might be, I don't know.
Or right before Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month. But with that being
Flags
said.
everywhere.
With that being said, how are you supposed to gain knowledge? Or what are the main ingredients I want to talk about? Main ingredients of being a supportive ally, especially if you are in a queer relationship now. The biggest one is the willingness to learn. So like you said, please don't rely on just your partner. Find other ways to learn. That's part of being willing to learn, is outsourcing different things. Again, now we have access to the same internet. And don't get me wrong, the internet is still crazy. You could still be accessing crazy, wrong information. But check in from a place of curiosity, not judgment. Be curious, not judgmental. That's from Ted Lasso.
Yes. Be curious, not judgmental. And I think like for me, that being curious also means giving like room for your partner or partners if you are deciding, hey, I want to be in a non-monogamous relationship, to express their side of it. Because like for Caboose, he didn't know what it was like to be married to somebody who was queer and had a lot of preconceived notions. So like when I expressed the fact that like I had to give up my queerness when we got married, because at that point you couldn't be both. I'm sure someone out there will be like, well, you always were. Yes, I was. But I basically, by walking down the aisle marrying a straight man, I went back in the closet. And yes, it was only 2011. So for some, like, especially younger listeners, they're like, that doesn't make any sense. But that is the culture that we had then. We didn't even have the word queer. That wasn't a thing. And so like for me, when people would ask me about like relationships, my biggest definition was I'm not straight. And that was it, is that like there wasn't a word for what I was. I just knew I wasn't straight. And so for me being able to like express to him, like, it doesn't feel nice to say, hey, walking down the aisle, I had a lot of hesitation because I thought like I'm giving up a huge part of who I am.
A huge part of your identity.
Of my identity, of my, and of my community. Because at that point before then I was able to go into gay bars. But after that, it felt like, actually, let me be really clear. It didn't feel like it was the case that my queer friends that saw me get married to a man felt very betrayed by that. So I think that's a little sidebar of like, if you are a queer friend and your friend is like starting to date straight people, be supportive. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Just because they are dating outside of our community does not give you the right to be a dick.
Here's the thing too, is like, please don't shame their partners for not knowing certain things as well.
No.
I think again, like it's so hard to cultivate a place of learning when you are coming from a point of shame. And there's no, I don't know. I just feel like there's this huge thing that we're not talking about, which is like, just because you're gay doesn't mean that you are a safe space. No. Doesn't mean that you are a good person. We all have to actively work on being a safe space for people.
And it also doesn't mean that you know everything. So just because you're fucking gay, Caboose and I had this debate because we talked about it in our friend group about scissoring. And we had one friend that was like, absolutely, it's not a fucking thing.
I said that.
And then we had another friend that said that. Said, absolutely not. It's not a fucking thing. And then Caboose and I are like, look, we're not saying it's like a everyday thing, but from what we're learning is it's still a thing. And then we went online, or more accurately, I did extensive amounts of fucking research. And it is not porn, y'all. Fuck off. And it is a thing. It is just not always.
It's not like the thing.
Yeah, it's not the thing, but it is a thing.
Yeah.
And so just because you are a queer person does not mean you necessarily are a safe space or you know better.
Totally.
But back to my point, is that, I then had to express to Caboose, because part of like this stage of our marriage is me being open about my queerness with him and him being curious about it. And it means sharing those sides of me is like, hey, you didn't like when he got married as a 24-year-old white man who was in the Navy.
24?
Yeah, we were 24.
Holy
we were children.
Shit,
We should not.
I'm fucking...
Yeah, you need to be put out to pasture, ma'am.
I'm a spinster.
You are. I think you technically would be considered a spinster.
Crazy.
So for him, everything was celebrated. So it's only a happy period of time. Whereas for me, it was both. It was a great happy period because I loved this person so much. But then there was a great sense of mourning. And it takes a very understanding person to be able to hear that and not be threatened by that. Mm-hmm. Same as like there is that assumption that because I am queer and because I am mostly attracted to women, very small parts of me are attracted to men. My husband just happens to be the exception to that. But there is that fear of like, okay, well, that means that like you're going to cheat on me. And there's that like weird thing when it comes to fucking straight people fearing that all queer people are going to go sleep with like someone of like the whatever gender.
Totally.
That isn't necessarily the case, but it's really sitting in that place of like curiosity and wanting to hear their perspective and understanding that it is very different from yours.
Absolutely. And I think somewhere along the way, it's like, yeah, become a point of fear for a lot of people where they're like, oh, I'm just scared of messing up. But like, you have to remember that we're all human. Mm-hmm. You know, we are all human. We're all going to mess up. It's okay. So long as you make the effort to like do better.
Yes.
You're totally fine. And I wanted to ask like, and of course, if you're not comfortable with sharing on the podcast, then we can totally just not. But I wanted to ask like how you feel like Caboose has come into himself in this queer relationship. Like, do you feel as if it's changed? Has there been trials and tribulations that like maybe like we should know of?
Yeah, I think that the more I express who I am, the more it lets him express who he is. That's so awesome. The more that I got out of this box of like, this is what a good wife is, this is what, because once again, you know, I not only am I queer, but I'm also neurospicy. Mm-hmm. So for me, I didn't understand like roles like a wife and a husband. Mm-hmm. Because of like my autism, I have to like learn a lot to understand something and like understand where it comes from. So I read a lot of books when we got married on like, and I read from the earliest books I could, which were from the 1940s up through like modern, at that point, you know, 2010 books on relationships to understand where these like roles fit in. Because I think I always knew that I was non-binary. But I was trying to like learn like what my role as a wife was so I could like do that and do it to the best of my ability. Mm-hmm. And so we were very stuck in these like gendered roles. And only over the last couple of years as a overarching societal like change has happened where we are really dismantling these like relationship roles and specifically gender roles and roles within the household. Has it also, I mean, it's been hard for him because he's had like the upheaval of like me suddenly being like, fuck this shit. I don't want to fucking be your mother. Mm-hmm. But it's allowed him to then be able to be more accepting of the parts of him that do not fit into straight culture.
Yeah.
So the parts of him that do not fit into like okay, you need to have a clean cut haircut. You need to like, now he dyes his hair and he keeps talking about piercings, but I don't know if he'll ever do it.
He needs to freaking do it. Get a fucking piercing. Why hasn't he done it yet?
I don't know.
Oh, my Lord.
I think we just need to take him.
It was family trip.
But it's same as like the tattoos. It's allowed him to become more expressive. And because when I step outside of the normal, I say that in quotations, gender roles and the role of like, okay, I'm your wife. You are my husband. I am a straight woman. Then it's allowed him, even though he is a straight white man, it's allowed him to be like, oh, hey, it doesn't have to look the way everyone else wants it to look.
Yeah.
And then it also allowed him, because like he is very open about the fact that his wife is queer, to then have those conversations and then become a better ally. So like when they hired somebody who was trans at his work and being in manufacturing, it was not a safe space for that person at all.
Totally.
He got to like in that learn of like, hey, this is how you can advocate. This is how you can be better. And he dealt with, and let me be very clear, this is not poor guy. Like he dealt with shit because obviously like his struggles, and I'm not trying to like compare, trauma.
Yeah.
But his struggles were nothing compared to this person's, but he dealt with a lot of backlash for advocating for this specific individual because everyone there is not everyone, let me be clear. A lot of the culture is very toxic and very like...
Well, I mean, it's rooted in a very like male-centric, like heteronormative... patriarchal culture.
Yeah.
So of course, like the one time that like this macho man is being like, no, this isn't right, people are gonna be like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. So then like the rumor of like, oh well, his wife is trans,
which got spread around his work. Which, by the way, holy fuck, if God, that shit was so annoying. Yeah. I love that you were like, well, I must be that buff then. Like,
yeah, that I see it as like a compliment. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I don't see like, I don't understand how that can be a insult, because I'm like, that is somebody who knows themselves enough to know that the body they're currently in is not like who they are internally, and is doing all of the work and going against like what can be considered the easier course in life. They are going against all of that to embody who they actually are. So to me, I'm like, that's a great compliment. Thank you so much. Like that is so nice of you that you think that I am someone who truly knows himself.
Yep.
And wants to walk around in whatever body like makes me feel like myself. Fuck yes. Thank you. So I thought it was great. Also because it was because I have muscle, and I was like, thanks. I'll take that too.
I'm over here like, I have an idea. I know who fuck started that rumor. You just shut your bitch ass up. Anyways.
No, I love it. That's probably one of my favorite rumors about myself. Like,
so ridiculous. Yes. But I mean, Caboose really is such a wonderful example of a straight person in a queer relationship that has done the work and has like just been so accepting and just a great ally, as well as a great partner around being in a queer relationship. Because I feel like, again, like straight dudes have like such a crush on Caboose, being such a straight man and holding the torch basically, and just being just such a wonderful example of like, you don't have to trade your masculinity in order to be happy in a queer relationship with a queer individual, gay as fuck.
Thank you. I'm quite gay.
He has not had to trade an ounce of his masculinity for that. And that's amazing.
Well, and I think it just goes to show that, like, you don't have to have that, like, toxic, fragile masculinity. Because that's what toxic masculinity is it's fragile masculinity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that, like, the traits about me that tend to be a lot more masculine do not threaten his masculinity. And that was, like, a big learning thing for both of us, whereas that, like, as I embody those, I guess, more publicly, he was also like, nah, dude, I think this is hot. Like, you got muscle, that's hot. Like, all those things I really appreciate.
I adore when you wear a suit to a fancy event.
Thank you.
And Caboose is like, well, one of us has to wear a skirt, so he wears a kilt.
Because he knows that's a me thing, and I feel kind of bad because I know.
Is that a you thing?
It is a me thing. Because I am really weird about, like, 2 suits or 2 skirts. My brain says 1 + 1. And so
there's got to be some weird heteronormative shit going on in there that you need to unpack. You need to unpack something.
I keep trying. I think it comes down to that, like, that, like, autism of, like, this plus this.
Aesthetically, this is how it goes.
Because I'm like, okay, but it's that whole thing of, like, if you're showing arms, maybe you don't show legs. Like, that part where it's that balance where I'm like, if you're wearing straight, you wear flare, like, that's it. Like, it's that, like, balancing. It's kind of like when we dress and you're wearing all black and I like to wear lighter colors because I like those. I think I just really like that, like, opposition of, like, skirts versus pants. So I really like where it's like, okay, if I'm going to wear, and so I'd said that to him just in passing, where I was like, well, if you're wearing a fucking suit, I can't wear a suit. I was like, because that's going to look weird if we both roll up in a suit. And then he was just like, well, I'll just wear my kilt. He's like, it's just a skirt for dudes. So, like, there you go. Excuse me. So then every time I'm so weird about burping now because Caboose made it a thing.
I've been silently burping too. Honestly, at this point, you guys have listened to the podcast enough that, like, and none of you had said anything. So I'm just going to roll with it. Everything's fine.
But yeah, so then now that's what he does. That and he knows that, like, I am a lot more sensitive about, like, what I'm wearing. I'm very tactile that, like, if something doesn't feel right, or, like, I feel very fake if I show up in a dress and I'm not feeling like wearing a dress, then it feels just wrong. And he is so supportive in that like he waits to see what I'm going to wear first. And then he'll either go grab suit pant or grab his kilt.
And so many people freak the fuck out over
Oh, yeah,
kilt.
dude. People love like men in skirt. I mean, I'm the same. Men in skirts. Yes, please.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. The bigger the body and the smaller the clothes, let's go. I'm all about it.
I think I'm just a big fan of men who are comfortable in their masculinity and challenge the norm. And you can really tell how comfortable a man is when like... by how gay he acts around his friends.
Yes.
I love that. It's one of my favorite fucking things to watch.
Yep.
It's just men like playing, you know, and just, I don't know.
Well, because it shows that lack of the like patriarchy and toxic masculinity that they feel safe enough to do that.
Yeah. And you feel secure enough in your own masculinity that like you don't give a fuck. Like I fucking, that shit is amazing.
Yep.
It's my favorite thing. More men in skirts, please.
All the men in skirts.
Well, with that being said, as a queer woman who is newfound talking to someone, which by the way, I was telling Lou, I'm like shy about saying that on the podcast. Any hoozles, he's very straight and it's refreshing. I consider it again as an opportunity to be able to educate someone on like what it's like being in a queer relationship. Is it a little bit like scary in terms of like, it's just emotionally vulnerable? Yes. But is it worth it? I think so. I think it is. So with that being said, I feel as if
I was going to say, weren't your past, but I don't think you were, I think it's the same case. I don't think you were openly as queer.
I wasn't as you are now. Securely out of the closet as I am now. I think that's the difference is like, I'm definitely, one of the first things I had told this guy is like, I have a zero tolerance policy for racism, sexism, and homophobia because I am a queer woman of color. And like I just found the need to say that out loud because again, like they're all important to me. These are all aspects of me that are huge, you know,
and non-changeable.
And does it suck that like you have to say that out loud in today's society? Absolutely. But like at the same time, like this is who I am. And again, I've got a zero tolerance policy for that. I am not willing to associate myself with somebody who is okay to let those things slide, which really set the tone right. But yeah, I feel like I just want to make this episode because I think it's fun to talk about. I think it's something that like, I don't know, that a lot of people still have stigma around that again, like, oh no, you're treating in your queerness for a heterosexual relationship. And I don't think that's it at all. I feel still even though I am a bisexual woman who is mostly attracted to men, I still feel very firm in the fact that I am bisexual. I'm planting my feet in the ground and know that I'm part of the queer community. It has been no question in my brain at all.
So I guess for me, something I want to talk about is as we like educate the straights here. Hi, straights. Is the kind of, it's like what we receive a lot. And I think we do get a lot more of it from our straight like clients than we get from our queer clients, which is having a hard time understanding our relationship.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
I want to talk a little bit about queer friendships because queer friendships, yes, I'm not saying that straight friendships can't have this like depth to them. But I also think about the fact of like, when I think about those straight friendships that are like as close as a lot of queer friendships are, oftentimes people will also mistake them as being a couple. Or like if it's guys that are together, like really close, like guy friends, they'll be like, yeah, we're all gay together. So I think that like there is this idea that like friends are like the very straight heteronormative diagram in which like relationships work is it's your children, your romantic partner, your family, and then it's like colleagues, and then it's friends. And the colleagues and friends, depending on the individual, can like change, but typically your like friends are this outer circle outside of your family. So like you see it as like your family relationships are the closest. However, for a lot of queer people, that is not the case. A lot of queer people are not closest with their families. And this comes a lot out of like still that it's brand new for like your generation to not have to come out to your parents. Like I was watching a couple reels on that about like, yeah, it's so crazy. Like what? You had to like come out of the closet? What the fuck? So like it is still very new to not have to come out to your family because homophobia was that like pervasive.
Yeah.
That, but once again, that thought that like I was trading in my queerness to get married to a man and that I would then be straight. And even within the community, that's how I was perceived. So to be able to then say, hey, my family is not the people I'm closest to. The whole idea of chosen family comes from the queer community.
Absolutely.
And so I find that a lot of straight people have a hard time understanding the closeness that happens between queer people.
Can I add to that? I also feel like, unfortunately, with a lot of straight people, there's this idea that like men and women cannot be friends because you are in these like, competitive like dating fields. Even if you're not like actually interested, there's still that weird like competition of like, okay, but like we're still up for game. Whereas in the queer community, like if you think about it, like it's groups of people who have the same level of competitiveness, but that isn't applied because we don't fall under the range of what the patriarchy sees. Yeah. Which is like, no, your woman can't be friends with other men.
Yeah, because structured within the patriarchy is this idea that individuals it's actually really interesting. Individuals do not have a choice who they're attracted to. Therefore, they can't like say no if they're attracted to someone, which is hilarious because then at the same line they say, but being gay is a choice. So, but it's the same like idea. So it's the, okay, well, I can't have a like friendship with a man because what I'm attractive or he's attractive, therefore we have to be attracted to each other. And it doesn't understand the nuance. And I think the queer community really understands that nuance more around the idea of like, hey, I am not attracted to you. I'm actually not attracted to any of our friends.
Yep.
No offense to any of our friends. I am also a serial monogamous. So like I am only attracted to my husband.
Yep.
But it is that idea that like the closeness that like queer friendships have is very threatening to straight relationships because in the straight world, you've been taught that family is the biggest and like romantic relationships are the most important relationships in your life. Whereas honestly, that's simply not true. Like that is a very Western and very like straight hetero like way of thinking. And I think that it's important to like dismantle that to be like, hey, let me look across like different cultures and also understand that like it's only been since the like 50s that we've said, okay, this is a nuclear family. So therefore we're prioritizing romantic relationships. And even then the idea of like marrying for love didn't really happen until the Industrial Revolution when we didn't have to like marry to merge our like farms.
Period.
So even that is a really new idea of like bonding to somebody and getting married to them for love. So I think that like just taking that time to look at that's why we call them our chosen family is because like it's trying to validate the fact that like this relationship makes sense to straight people when I say, okay, but you are like my kid sister. So now hopefully they'll understand it where it's like, but really our relationship is like something that has so many layers. I'm like, I don't know how to fucking explain it. If I could just be like, this is my wife, then people would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, but we don't sleep together though. We don't do that shit. But
we
like
don't even
in
hug.
every other, we don't. We've hugged a couple times.
Yeah. In our 6-year relationship. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing is that like there isn't necessarily a word that makes sense to other people. But in particular, like the whole like idea of like straight people not understanding is something that I've run into a lot.
Yeah.
Because I've run into very few queer people that are like, oh, you guys are for sure dating. They're just like, oh no, you're married and that's your best friend. Cool. Done.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is a very prevalent thing where people, and it's typically the straights assume that we're in a throuple because like we are all very close.
Yeah.
But again, it's that like, it's so unfortunate to see that your closeness with someone in terms of friendship, in terms of relationship, in terms of emotional intimacy must be connected through romantic or sexual connections. That is not what it is in the queer space. In the queer space, if you have this deep, deep friendship that is emotionally intimate, none of it has to be romantic.
No.
You are just each other's people. And I love that about the queer community. And I really wish that like I really hope that in 10 years, the straights will have the same thing.
Yeah. Because I fucking can't imagine not having like what we have.
Oh, yeah.
And then also what we have with our friends is that like...
Absolutely.
It's
Y'all
just
are my
safe.
fucking people.
Yeah.
Y'all are my fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyhoozles, I don't know if there's anything else I need to add on to that other than, you know, if you are straight in a queer relationship, just know that they will have, more likely than not, queer friendships that you may not understand. Mm-hmm. Dissect that a little bit. Back it up. Ask questions. Mm-hmm. Come from a place of, again, curiosity, not judgment.
And stop assuming we all sleep with each other.
We don't. I promise you. That's not a thing.
No. And to be clear, in some friendship groups, they do. But also, to be clear, some friendship groups with straight people sleep together a lot, too.
I was going to say, I do find it ironic that, like, some people will be like, well, yeah, you know, her and I are really close. We slept together once and it didn't work out. And that's fine. But then when it comes to, like, deep queer friendships, it's like, you guys aren't going to, like, kiss, right? And it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. So,
which I think comes from that fear of, like, that other where it's like, hey, I can't ever be that. So, like, that's where that fear comes in. Mm-hmm. But it is like, yeah, it's interesting.
We might have to do another episode on that.
Ooh.
All right. Well.
So, yeah, on that note.
Win for the week.
What's your win for the week? I was going to try to get you. My win for the week is, dude, I don't know, getting sushi. We had a little derailed plans yesterday because both of us worked on our day off. Mm-hmm. Before you say shit, I know we work every day. It's fine. We both were in the studio tattooing on our day off.
Yeah.
And ended up with an extra appointment. So we didn't get to go to sushi yesterday. So we went to sushi today. And I matched my all-time record of 58.
That's amazing that you were still counting.
Well, because I realized when I ordered a second thing, I was like, fuck, dude, this is a lot of sushi. I think it was like the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
And it was.
Sushi is definitely a win. My win for the day is recording these episodes and putting on makeup. Oh, I did my hair. I really didn't want to fucking do that.
Yeah, we cut your hair and you colored your hair.
And I colored it, yeah.
Yep, and then you cut your little bangs.
My bangs.
They're so cute.
Thank you.
I love it. This, like, girly, like...
She's in her feminine era. Just you wait. I'll come back to my, like, fucking teenage boy era and we'll see if Dude Man's still there. He's going to be like, you look like a boy. And I'm going to be like, lady boy.
Yeah. No. I mean, technically he did meet you after you were looking.
I was haggard. If we're really going to talk about this on the podcast, we can talk about it. The way that I met this guy, I literally came from an hour and a half therapy session. I only normally do an hour, but this was my first private therapy session after, like, officially being estranged. And I was crying for an hour and a half. And then I decided to go to the fucking mall because I was like, oh, a little retail therapy.
Don't say what store.
And I'm not going to say it. Why did you have to preface that?
Because I got scared that you would say what store and then people would, like, hunt this person down.
No. I'm smarter than that. I promise.
I got scared for a second.
Well, thank you for protecting his privacy.
Yeah, the anonymity of this person matters.
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm not trying to do any of that. Anyways, I literally, no makeup, hair fucked up, crying. Like, I had been crying for an hour and a half. Baggy ass t-shirt. I was wearing my fucking Birkenstocks and my socks. Like, straight up uncle at the fucking cookout. And I fucking walk in and we just end up talking. And yeah, the rest is history. But it was crazy because I was like,
so cute.
I looked crazy.
Yeah, but it's the best that way because you didn't fucking, not saying that you don't look like you when you're wearing makeup.
Oh, totally.
But he got to see you in what I would say is like your most common state, not the crying part.
Yes.
But the looking like your fucking uncle at a barbecue is your most common state.
I don't go to work dressed up a lot. I really don't. I'm too fucking tired for that shit.
Yeah. So I think it's good. And it's cute because you met organically. And that's so cute.
Oh, that's pretty adorable.
Also, I'm here for it. So if you got shit to say, come talk to me.
Yeah, you straight and...
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm with someone that's straight. So for 17 years.
That's
it's okay.
crazy.
It happens to us. I know.
Happy anniversary.
Nuts. Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, we'll let you go. Thanks for listening. If you got this far, let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you have a straight partner and if you have some things that you would like to extend to the other queer people who are dating straight people.
If you are a straight person and would be interested in sharing your perspective of what it's like dating in the queer community and like the trials, tribulations, like what you learned, what you love, what you hate, any of that. I would love to hear that perspective. So, all
right, well,
share it.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yep.
We'll see y'all later. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. I can't find the button.
It's always